Good morning, classroom family, and welcome to Monday, June 15th, 2020. And can you believe it? We are right smack in the middle of June at the 15th mark. And we have only 2 more weeks remaining of our distance learning program left. I really can't believe we've reached this point, but we have. And we've come here through all of our hard work together in a time when things changed a great deal for us. So I want to say congratulations to all of you for sticking it out and working extra hard and staying motivated and focused and really being dedicated to your schoolwork and your learning. Keep going. It will take you far to great places, I promise you. So I wanted to update you on a couple of things before we get into the activities, and a reminder to everyone that the activities that I will be explaining in this video are being assigned for today, Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, up until Wednesday, June 17th. So first I want to talk about Maya, and thank you to our friend Elijah for offering the name Maya. It's a beautiful name and I think it suits her well. But so far, Maya seems a little bit shy. She doesn't seem to want to come out. So I know we talked about this in our meet on Friday, but I think we should all make this decision together. And I think you're on board. I think it's time to replant because we have done everything possible. We've been caring for Maya by giving her water and sunlight and giving her our love and spending time with her. And for some reason, the seeds just don't want to form and split, and we don't see really any sign of a stem yet. So we will most likely go in to investigate what might have happened, or I think it's important for us to see what happened to the seeds we planted 2 weeks ago, and we'll see what that tells us and how we can do it different for our next planting. But we're going to give Maya a brand new shot at this, all right? So stay tuned for that because we will do that together. And you never know, something could happen in the next 24 or 48 hours. Secondly, I want to say thank you for all your help in baking our cupcakes on Friday. I want to show you the finished product, but there's a little story behind this. So do you remember when we left off, the batch of cupcakes were in the oven and everything was smelling great? Well, I got a little too caught up in my cleaning and I left them in just a little too long. They didn't actually burn, but they got a little extra toasted on top. And I know they may not be everyone's favorite that way. So what I did is I followed the same process or procedure, all of the steps, and I did everything again, just like we did it together. I repeated all of those steps and I made a fresh new batch, and then I added my frosting and some sprinkles, which you can see, and they are absolutely delicious. The little extra things that we did, by the way, like the chocolate chips, adding them, they were a wonderful addition because they all ended up at the bottom of the cupcake. So when you bite in, you get a bit of an extra crunch or a bit of different texture because all the chocolate chips clump to the bottom. So it's almost like a chocolate chip cookie at the bottom and then it turns into a cupcake on top, all right? But thank you for your help in that, and I hope you enjoyed that. And speaking of that whole process, I am sending you in your files, and there's no actual work to be done with this, so you don't need to print this PowerPoint, but I am sending you a few PowerPoint slides about procedure writing, just to remind you about it, because procedure writing can be used for more than just baking and following a recipe. It can be used, like I said before, for planting, which we did. It can also be used to describe events in your own life. So if you went on a trip, even just a day trip with your family, you can talk about how your event happened and explain it in detail by saying first, next, then, and finally. And I want to talk about that a little bit too. When we talk about the individual steps, it may not be only one action. So for example, if you look at our procedure writing for baking the chocolate cupcakes, if you look at step number 1, you're going to notice something. It's not just one little action. First, wash your hands and make sure the baking area is clean before preheating the oven with an adult. So you notice, even though it's the first step and we're clumping it into the first part of the procedure, it doesn't mean it has to be only one thing at a time. And the reason for that, and you've probably figured this out, if we gave every little thing we did or every action, we'd have a million steps by the end. So what we do is we try to cluster or combine a few steps steps that happen at the beginning. Because when you wash your hands and you clean your cooking area or baking area and turn on the oven, you can call that all part of the beginning. It's sort of like going back to our retelling of a text. The beginning doesn't only involve one piece of information. It sometimes can combine a couple. So think about that when you come up with your own procedure writing activity, which will probably be next week. So again, you don't have to print this out because it's a lot of ink and a lot of color, but please read through the slides with somebody because it really captures what we did together on Friday. So I'm not going to go through all of it. You can enjoy that yourself, but it also gives you a reminder of the important vocabulary that we use when expressing ourselves through procedure writing. All right, so enjoy that, my friends. We are going to now move on to our math focus on fractions. You are doing phenomenal with fractions, and as you remember, we used fractions in our baking on Friday. So the first two activities for fractions are being assigned to the entire class, both grade 1s and grade 2s. And the first activity is something you're familiar with. You are given the actual fraction in number form with numerator and denominator. Your job is to express what's happening with the numerator and the denominator on the shapes, all right? They've been divided for you. And again, if you don't want to print, you can do it by pointing to the screen and just describing it. The point here, my friends, is that you understand fractions and how to express them. On the bottom half of the activity, it's the opposite. The fractions in number form are not given to you. They're not provided, but the shaded shapes in parts are. So for example, we have a diamond here divided up into fourths. So that tells you what your denominator is, which you would place right over here in the bottom box. And then you would figure out what the numerator is by counting the shaded parts of the diamond, all right? And that's the first activity. The second is called fractions of a set. So often we see items, objects that belong to an entire grouping or set, and some of them are different for specific reasons, and we have to identify those. In this case, you are being asked to look at the whole set, so make sure that you focus and count everything in the set first so you have your whole number, and that would be your denominator, and then listen to the instructions carefully. So which one would be a good example? Let's look at number 9 over here, or sorry, I apologize, that's actually a G. These are divided up into letters. So exercise G asks, what fractions of the bowling pins are standing? What fraction of the bowling pins are standing? So your first task would be to count all of the bowling pins, because the bowling pins in total will be your denominator, your whole. And the ones that are standing, the bowling pins that have remained standing, will be your part, your numerator. So you would express your denominator on the bottom and your numerator above. But make sure you read the instructions. For example, E above is one of the challenging ones I want to highlight for you. It asks, write 6 letters. 5 of your letters should be vowels. So you are going to write 6 letters as your whole, but out of those 6, 5 must be vowels. And that's possible because we do have 5 vowels in our alphabet, all right? So enjoy the fractions as a set. Now we're going to move on to separate activities for the grade 1s and the grade 2s when it comes to fractions. So grade 1s, you will have 2 activity pages, which will be, I think, quite simple for you, where you're just connecting or matching fractions as words and fractions as numbers, because as we know, fractions can also be expressed as words. So for example, you can say 1/3 by showing it as a fraction with 1 as the numerator and 3 as the denominator, or you can say 1/3 using vocabulary, the word 1 and third. So make sure you match the fraction in number form to the word form correctly. And for our grade 2s, I haven't forgotten about you. You are also going to express fractions as words, but you have a little more of an extra step here. You are given the fraction in number form, and rather than matching, you will be writing it out in word form. So let's do one together. So let's look at this one. 1/8 in word form would be 1/8, and I'm going to show you what that would look like. All right, so just give me a second and I'll write that in 1/8. 1/8. So that would look exactly like this. 1/8 is 1/8 in words, all right? And you can go back to last week's word study list for help with this because some of those words were in there for you. So once again, say the fraction out loud, expressed in number form, and then print it out in word form. All right, now we are probably going to talk about something that is, of everything in this video that I'm explaining, all of your learning, this is probably the most important thing of all. It's what I talked to you about in our meet last Wednesday. After we read our story, I mentioned that I was going to be providing you with some PowerPoint slides called Everyone Counts. And I'm going to ask you once again to read through these, and it will be a choice if you want to print it out. You can answer the questions right on the screen or on a separate piece of paper if you don't want to print it out. Or if you do, that is an option for you, but there is about, I think, 6 pages to this, and there are 3 important questions to answer, I believe. And what this is really all about is making sure that we respect and value everyone around us. Now, as your teacher, and I'm sure your parents and families feel the same way, we can show you how to do many things, and we can help you learn many skills in life, from riding a bicycle to reading to performing math equations. But the one thing we really can't do is make you truly care about yourself and other people. That is a virtue that has to come from you, from within. And the only way that you get really good at that is by practicing it as a human being, by treating everyone like that all of the time, including yourself. So these are some special PowerPoint slides that remind us that everyone in God's kingdom, everyone created by God, is equal, all right? I'm not going to read it all to you because I would like you to try doing that on your own or with someone. But once you read the first section, the first question asks you, what do you think it means to be equal? Now, we're not talking about being equal in terms of numbers or fractions. We're not talking about equal parts here. We're talking about being equal as human beings. Even though we're all different in so many special ways, we are still equal. So what does it mean to be equal? All right, now the next slide reminds us that even though we are all different in many ways, we still are equal, and we all deserve the same love and treatment. Okay, that's an important message. Then we get to the next slide, which unfortunately tells us that it doesn't always work out like that in our world. Not everybody gets treated well. And in fact, sometimes people get treated unfairly or treated poorly because they are different. And we've read a few books about that. We've talked about that. But now I want you to identify with that and answer this question. Have you ever felt left out or treated unfairly? Explain. So think of a time when you felt that you weren't treated the way you deserve to be treated, and think about why. And finally, probably the most important question, what do you think you can do to make others feel loved and special? And again, once you start living life this way, once you start respecting everyone and treating everyone with kindness and love and remembering that they are all in the image of our God above, you will have a really happy life, and it will help you to feel even better about yourself. All right, so please take your time with those slides. Read through them a few times, and when you answer those questions, I'm going to ask that you really think of an answer that not only comes from your thinking, that really comes from your heart, okay? Because like I said, of all the learning in this video and in these activities for the next 3 days, it's that Everyone Counts PowerPoint that is probably the most important one, and it's what our world needs to learn right now. All right, we're going to move on to some reading comprehension for both grades. And again, I'm going to remind you that we're building stamina. You're trying to get through your reading from the beginning to the end without stopping. But if you have to stop and learn a new word, or you pause, that's okay, as long as you go back and read it again and challenge yourself to get through the reading as many times as you can fluidly. Okay, so fluently and fluidly. That means in a nice flow. So start at the beginning, use all of your reading skills, go slow, pace yourself, and make sure you understand what you're reading, because both readings will have follow-up activities. Grade ones, we're reading a special reading called Pictures in the Sky. So it's all about nature, and it's about what you see. If you've ever done this, I do it quite a bit still, where you sort of look up to the sky on a beautiful day and the clouds form amazing images that actually look like things around us that we may have seen. So take your time to read this. And remember, when you're reading it loud, if you are reading to somebody, remember clarity, volume, expression, and pace. Same with the grade twos. We're also reading something called The Strange Star. So again, more nature related. Read it, try to build your stamina, and use the information from the reading to answer the follow-up questions and activities. All right? So enjoy those, please. And we're almost at the end. Last week, we learned a lot about synonyms. And remember what synonyms are. Synonyms are words that mean the same thing, but they're actually different words, but they have the same meaning. And we use them so that we're more innovative or creative when we talk about something, all right? So instead of saying you're happy, you could say you're glad or you're cheerful. But now we're going to talk about the opposite of synonyms, which are called antonyms. Antonyms, okay? And antonyms actually mean opposites. They're words that are the opposite. So you've already done this. You know the opposites, like close, far. There you go, opposite. So what you have here is an activity with 14 statements, and I want you to take a look at the underlined word and replace it with the opposite. So if we look at number one, for example, the statement is, the best movie I've ever seen is Lion King. The word best is underlined. Going to our word box here, what would be the opposite of best? Old? No. Messy? Smallest? Oh, I see it up here. Worst. Worst. So you would replace the word in that statement. So it now will read, the best movie I've ever seen is Lion King. It will be the opposite. The worst movie I've ever seen is Lion King. So all you have to do is write the antonym on the line. So pay attention to the word that's underlined and find its opposite. All right, and the last activity is optional. If you have some time and you really enjoyed learning about synonyms, I am going to provide a synonyms word search. And remember, you can locate the words either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, all right? So enjoy that if you have some extra time and you want to review synonyms. The very, very last thing before I sign off is our riddle of the week. I haven't had a lot of responses. I had one and it was really close. Remember what it was? What has many keys but cannot unlock anything? And I got an answer that sort of made sense. And the answer was a computer keyboard. That's sort of true because there are many keys in our computer keyboard. So I am going to say that that's valid. That kind of counts. And I didn't even think about that. But the answer from the riddle truly was a piano. A piano has many keys that you play, but piano keys don't unlock anything. They do make beautiful sounds and notes that turn into melodies and songs that we enjoy. But I will come up with a riddle for the next video. But what I want to wish you is a wonderful start to this week. Enjoy the beautiful sunshine, and I'm wishing all of you happy learning, and I'm looking forward to investigating what happened with Maya and giving Maya a second shot at growing. All right? So take care, be safe, be well, and looking forward to seeing all of you soon.